Time to get into the second half of our day. We're in Season 4, FACEIT League Master Grand Finals. We've already crowned one champion over in EMEA. It is time to head to North America. We got 3 teams fighting it out for a chance at that first place slot, $7,500 in prize money, not to mention 2 slots in the OWCS promotion relegation matches, all on the line here in front of us. My name is Jeff, returning with the King Kenobi on the mic with me here as we guide you through these second matches, or next 2 matches as a matter of fact. See who we're sitting on to those promotion relegation matches.
Yeah, we're across the pond now, back in NA, where you and I are a little bit more comfortable here with our accents in particular. But gonna go into this one, and we're starting things off with Rad Academy versus Supernova, and how we, again, this is kind of right back where we were in EMEA, where we had these 2 teams, and this is probably one of the most important matchups because the loser of this does not get to go to that relegation, and the winner gets to go to that relegation. So a lot of pressure on both these teams, especially Supernova, with how they got here.
And it feels like there's just as much gravity, if not more, on this lower bracket final match as we see in the grand final. Obviously, being champion carries so much weight with it, and you've got that first place prize money to boot, but it really is that slot in OWCS that is the big golden carrot dangling at the end of the stick in front of these 3 teams. That is the true prize that they're going after. That will be determined here in this lower bracket finals.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that's the big deal here, Skunk, is that Supernova is in this bracket, which is a shock in and of itself because it feels like Supernova should have been in OWCS already, but they lost to, I believe, Amplify was the team that took them out. Phone played out of her mind, and it was fantastic. But I think that, like, when I look at the Supernova team, not only are they in this tournament, which is feels like it shouldn't have happened, they're in the lower bracket and they went early, which is even worse.
I don't think, we kind of talk about this before, but live, I think literally no one would have ever bet that both Extinction and Supernova end up knocked down into the lower bracket in those in the semifinals. They end up having to face each other in the lower bracket semifinals. I mean, on paper, your 2 most dangerous teams here. You know, a lot of recognizable names on both of those rosters. I guarantee you, y'all have seen some of those names before out there, and yet huge upsets coming through. You know, this tournament has been about the rise of the next ups, about passing the baton to the next generation of all-stars here in our Overwatch community, and I think we're seeing that right here, right now, in this bracket. I mean, just perfectly laid out. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Man, this one speaks volumes.
100%. And Dilduck's kind of just shocking everyone, I think, making it to the grand finals from the winner's side, a 3-2 against Extinction, a 3-2 against Rad Academy. Like, that team has a lot of really key members on it that have been around for a long time that I'm very familiar with, covering T2, and you as well, covering as much as we have with Collegiate and stuff like that. And again, it's going to be interesting to see kind of where this Supernova and Rad Academy roster go, because they did play each other earlier in the bracket. You saw that it was Rad Academy who sent Supernova down here. And again, Supernova, with the roster that they have, we'll take a look at it when we get to those rosters beforehand, but like, it feels like they really shouldn't. Thank you, Prod actually is going to go right into it. Like, if you look at this team, like, all of these names are very big names that you feel like should, I mean, there's OWL players on this roster. There's very good tier 2 players that have been on this roster. Like, I'm very surprised that they're here, like, with a last shot to get back into OWCS when it feels like they probably should have already been in OWCS.
I mean, okay, I got a couple things I want to touch on. First off, that loss in the upper bracket semifinals, that was the very first loss Supernova has had since that game against Amplify back in mid-January. They have been flawless since the losing those OWCS qualifiers until now. This is where this team, they felt unstoppable, and you can see why. Every single one of these players feels like the best in class for their role. I mean, you can literally go down the list here and be like, yep, that's probably the best tank in NA right now is Astro. Hit scan, Jutsu looks unreal. Maybe one of the newer names has been uncanny good on the Widowmaker. Ryan may be the best mechanically talented player in all of FACEIT League. I mean, I'd say up there with Haven, probably tied with Haven. Ryan has been nutty. And then you talk about the Overwatch League experience. You've got Renko kind of leading the charge on that play for San Francisco Shock back in 2023, and is absolutely an S-tier caliber on a, I mean, yeah, this roster's lights out.
Yeah, I mean, Renko and Grips is one of the support lines that I like. When I just look at it on paper, I'm like, okay, this should be a support line that should like could carry you through a tournament like this, and you know, make it relatively easy to get back into OWCS. But it just hasn't worked out that way for this team, as do have the other side of the coin that is going to be Rad Academy, but the Supernova team, I mean, we talked about it, how it looks like. I mean, these are all players that I'm super familiar with because they've been at like some pretty high levels of Overwatch, and it feels like they're scrambling to get themselves. I mean, they're literally in a last chance, last saloon type of deal where if they lose this, they're going to have to go through FACEIT League again, which is not something I think you would have expected at the start of the year.
Not at all. I mean, this is the team. I mean, this is the team previously known as Fluffy Dreamland. If you were watching OWCS in 2024, you would definitely recognize most of these players. Maybe they had a little different name at the top, but it's almost the exact same roster. There's been a couple of changes, notably in the DPS line. Ryan was a sub for that Dreamland roster, Jutsu really being the only newcomer as far as DPS, but both are now starting since Chime has now moved on. Haven got picked up by Extinction, got picked up by another squad. So the DPS line new as starters. Otherwise, this is the same squad that has the same synergy that got 4th in stage 4 of OWCS, beating out NRG Shock to claim that, which was a huge upset. Astro getting the MTD over Kellen in that series. I mean, this is a real shocker to see him here in this lower bracket right now.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair to them, they're like, if there's anyone that I'd like think about kind of having, you know, the chops to make a lower run bracket, it's this team. Like they've been through in this position before. They're totally fine with it, I would imagine. As we eventually can look at the Rad Academy roster, but I think that again, the Supernova team, it's been super interesting for me that they are in a position like this as we do look at the Rad Academy roster. And this is a roster, I mean, there are some, you know, big names in this one as well, performing very well, sending Supernova already in a 3-1 down to the lower bracket. Like this is a team that I think is kind of not coming out of nowhere, I would say, because there's a lot of good talent on this roster, but definitely I think punching very high, especially because they were, I think they were 4th, I believe, in the regular season. So performing relatively well to get in, push their way into that top.
Oh, they've definitely punched up recently, but it's been a glow up. This has been where Supernova, you've kind of got this plateau of excellence. You expect them to be good. You expect that plateau to be above everybody else, and they just sit up there, and it's hard for anybody to even climb that distance. This Rad Academy squad, or Radicad, as you'll probably hear me refer to them throughout this series, it just flows off the tongue so nice. But Radicad are on a meteoric rise and have shown, I mean, that slope is just getting more and more of an incline as they continue to accelerate up through the ranks and able to get that first win. As I mentioned, the first team to beat Supernova in 3 months. Supernova had 5 map losses in the entirety of the regular season. Radicad had 24. Just to give you a comparison of their regular season performance, Radicad, I mean, really demonstrating how far they have climbed and able to take that victory in the upper bracket semifinals.
And I've been really impressed with what I've seen from Rad Acad, being able to play a lot of varieties of different compositions. Like, I think based on what I've seen, they have kind of the most diversity of like any teams in terms of like team comps, being able to bring out Malga, bring out Diva, like Dive. Archetypically, it feels like they can kind of play anything, especially with the DPS and support, where the hero pools are almost hero oceans, it feels like. So that gives them a boon. There is kind of like a double-edged sword to that, where they do rely on like having 2 tanks, where it's like, okay, if Santana's in, we're playing probably like Malga or playing Winston or something like that. If Destine is going to be in, we're playing something a little bit more different, like a Diva. But I think like if this was like a 6v6 team, this team would be fantastic, right? So they're spoiled for choice a little bit when it comes to their tank play.
And shifting gears just a little bit, but one of my favorite things about this Radicat squad is it's a real testament to the Calling All Heroes system. As we have seen that tournament now being able to feed here into the Path to Pro system, and players that have found enormous success there in Calling All Heroes now migrating over and showing the chops that they've learned through that competition and bringing it here and trying to take it all the way up to OWCS. I think it's such a wonderful testament of just how all the breadth of tournaments here in our Path to Pro system are so important, culminating here in this FACEIT League Master Division Grand Finals day. But man, what a cool story. What a cool story. You got so many players coming through that. Desatine, Hutch, Santana, all coming through from that system. Valerie, who will be Fluttershy in-game, and all graduating through that Calling All Heroes path. So just that's a really, really neat story there.
It's what's good about FACEIT League, where it's like you have all of these like other tournaments. Is you have collegiate, there's like a mix of like collegiate players calling out hero players, and then some new players. Like there are players that are very known to us, but also new players that come in through the FACEIT system. And I'm really just loving what I'm seeing. Again, it's like we still have that story of like the old guard versus the new up and comers. So I'm really really excited to see what happens as we go into this matchup to start things off with a chance at that relegation tournament on the line. As we see the bans, there's going to be the Farah ban and the Juno ban. Farah makes sense on a map like this because it's Nepal, where we start off. Like a very good Farah map, all things considered, kind of has been for its entirety of its existence. So I think this is kind of standard with what we'll see from the ban pace. It'll be a good litmus test to kind of see what these two teams are going to be running compositionally. Again, I think that Nepal offers a lot of variety. When you like go to village, it's a little bit more of a brawly style of map. Shrine, you can play some more dive and like things like this. So I think that this will be a good kind of appetizer for what we'll see for the rest of this year.
It's an interesting ban, and it forces me to kind of highlight our two flex DPS players here. So Lich is one of those hot up-and-comers that you're talking about that kind of is outside the system, does play in collegiate, but really grew up here in FACEIT League over 2024 and has become one of the premier next up flex DPS players in all of NA. Lich is so darn good, so talented across a multitude of flex DPS players. But then you look at the other side. Ryan, I talked about Ryan was kind of a bench player for this team when they were known as Dreamland, but Ryan came in to play the Flyers. That's exactly what Ryan did. That's why we're seeing Rad Academy ban out the Pharah, despite Lich having such a strong Pharah in their own right.
It's going to be a mirror of the Ramatras actually starting things off, so a lot of poke potential coming in from both these teams. Anti-nades as well, going to be a big deal. There is no Kiriko on either of these sides, so big anti-nades could be the difference maker, as Astro already gets hit with an anti and a sleep, but so does Fluttershy. Both these Ramatras so low, but it's both of them who actually end up going down.
We end up with a tankless first fight. 4 squishies from each team kind of just backed up for a moment and then went, wait a minute, we got to fight for this high ground. Move back in. Ryan made the decision a little quicker, has a positional advantage and the health advantage over Lich, as our piles of squishies are looking for first blood and trying to stall long enough to see which tank will make it back here first. Jutsu's going to take down the Ivory, and it's a distinct advantage. Radicat tried to get the point position, but Astro's back on the case.
I actually like the decision from Astro to go over to the Winston. It does make sure that you get a little bit faster back to the fight. It is going to be a bit tricky here operating against something like a Ramatra, because you do have that Vortex that is so impactful. But with Renko being farmed up very quickly towards this nano boost, the Winston is going to get a ton of value in that regard, because you have a very, very good nano target. Whereas Rad Academy, not necessarily the same thing. I mean, you could throw it on your Ramatra, you could throw it on maybe your Sojourn as well, but realistically, the Winston's going to be a great potential for a nano boost here.
Asher just appears out of the sky! It's raining Winstons, and Ivory got squished, Goomba stomped by the Donkey Kong. Oh, but Asher stood in dangerous territory way too long. Rinko couldn't get the heals down in time. The Nano's still just a little bit too far away.
Gotta wait here patiently. I mean, they're going to be able to get back onto this point. This is exactly where you want to play if you're a Ramatra, just on the point, making the enemy team come to you. You are going to have that nano boost relatively soon, but Grapes goes down 10% away from a sound barrier.
Huge play from Lich, and the nano boost on to Ryan, though. Takes Lich back down. Ooh, and finds Cinnabar, but Cinnabar can't get the, Ryan can't get the kills fast enough. As quickly as Ryan's putting him in the feed, Rad Academy's doubling down.
And it's actually a really, the nano goes on to both the DPS, which is not something I was expecting here. I was for sure that nano was going to be going on to Astro, but actually Ryan makes something good happen with it. So does Ivory on the back end. Doesn't necessarily find the picks, but the amount of pressure that was being put down by that Sojourn made the difference right there, as Pulse Bomb going to be available for Ryan here. Nothing on the enemy team, like to have that one-shot potential, but that sound barrier is going to be so important. You cannot see an age out from it.
Supernova able to move on to this point. I mean, for free. They're just going to flip this at the beginning of the fight. Whether casualty I didn't see, I don't know. But Rad Academy are now going to make a move, try to get back onto this point. It looks like a bit of a game of chicken on who's going to pop this sound barrier first. Neither team wants to go first, it seems like. Astro dives in with the Primal Rage. They're going to hit the go button. Sound barrier now unleashed from both of our squads. Grapes, too late to save Rinko with that. Fluttershy's going to find the honor, remove a lot of the staying power here from Supernova. Push up onto Hutch, but they're able to find the high ground and survive. Lich goes down, but you take that trade onto Astro 2 times on Sunday.
I mean, you saw a fantastic Vortex there. Astro was trying to dive up and secure a pick, but completely disregarded by a great Vortex from Fluttershy, making sure that that Winston wasn't able to jump out. And now it's Rad Academy who get to start moving their percentage forward here and have a very good amount of ultimates to work with. I mean, their ultimate economy looks very good. You have that Annihilation. If everyone's diving into you, Annihilation is so good for that. And you also have a Dragon Blade, and there's nothing on the enemy team to deal with it. It has to be like a sleep or a boop. There's no support of ultimates. If Rad Academy can rotate these ultimates effectively, they can very easily take the rest of this 40%.
Ivory in a bit of pressure. Sleep on the outside with the OC. Rad Academy could try to take us a little bit slow to build up the rest of that nano boost, but they're going to go and pop the overclock early. See if that'll be the first pick. Nano boost is actually thrown onto Ivory. Once again, just to enable this overclock, and that's going to get the point without even getting a pick, although it does cost you 2 ultimates.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have the ability to use this Dragon Blade and also the Annihilation, and they're just moving forward aggressively here. Here comes the Dragon Blade, slept by Renko!
Oh, and the deletion! Even gets the purple on the Fluttershy. That's going to be the end of Fluttershy as well. Renko, you madman, that was amazing.
I mean, what did I say, Bullskunk? I said you had to get the sleep. There are no supportive ultimates, and that's exactly what Renko does, showing their stuff, being able to get that sleep. Because if that Dragon Blade is going through, that fight's completely different. It's probably the end of the map, as Hutch is going to end up going down at the very end of it. So more time taken off the clock here, and Rad Academy have nothing to work with. Ryan looking for something with the Pulse Bomb, but there is a Diva on the other side now, potentially could be eaten.
Just in low on health, buying the time to try to get back on the boop. Oh, miraculously, Rad Academy are able to get the overtime going, but they're going to have to fight it in a 4v5. Fluttershy and Cinnabar both already low, and Ryan still lurking with that pulse. Doesn't even need it. No other touch to get on the point. Good boots from Supernova, maintain control.
And this one, you kind of have to tip your hat to the enemy team, where you're like, okay, like the nano boost slept, like we can't really do anything about that with how well Renko played that entire team fight. Then also committed, there was the Ramattra Annihilation committed onto that, was antied. Like, I mean, really, sometimes it just happens where a support or like any other player will just completely turn a fight around, and that's exactly what happened. They're really, really well played to Renko, and this is what we talked about, where it's like this team on paper and this team mechanically is so incredible. It's a shock that they're even in a tournament like this, because they have all the mechanical skill to make plays like that and turn fights completely on their head.
Yeah, I mean, to not just get into OWCS, but it feels like Supernova have the chops to thrive at that level. You're saying Renko basically win a 1v2 against a Blade and an Annihilation.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if it works, it works. And we see actually some changes here. Rad Academy going over to the Hammond, and I'm so interested to see how this is going to end up working out, because Hammond is one of those heroes that if you can pilot it effectively, you can be a complete nuisance. And realistically, I'm wondering how the peel is going to end up going.
I was warned that Destiny actually has a pretty darn good Wrecking Ball on him. So far, it's just kind of playing, let's scoop up all of the health packs like Pac-Man. And Lich on this Tracer, this is not a normal pick for Lich. You don't often see Lich on a Tracer, and yet they find first blood here, and an important one on that. Taking Astro out of the fight, this should get first cap over to Rad Academy.
Yeah, I mean, the health bars are pretty high up for Rad Academy right now as they're getting healed up. But actually, Supernova haven't given that much positioning away, but a nice slam from Fluttershy, able to take some more positioning away. They're still fighting around, and now we're going to start spinning to win.
Supernova actually gets capped. I'm surprised Rad Academy didn't get more aggressive on the pick onto Astro. Now they find themselves down, and Cinnabar falls for the second time. About half of the charge to that first sound barrier of Grapes. Grapes moving up, trying to pursue Fluttershy alongside Ryan here, but they're going to let this one go.
Yeah, I think one of the things about this Hammond composition, if you're going to be running it, you have to kind of get value off of these dives and the space created from the Hammond, and unfortunately for Rad Academy, they just weren't able to do so. Pulse Bomb relatively here soon for Ryan. A lot of good targets on the other side to be able to get potentially a pick at the very start of a fight.
The bounce from Hutch got 2. That was, I mean, it didn't lead to anything. It was just cool. Oh, but Hutch is in a lot of trouble now. Ryan was mad about that. Goes find some revenge. Take down the Ana. Well, I mean, Fluttershy's still looking low. I mean, it was pretty even. There's the clapback. Cinnabar gets 2 on this. This is still anybody's fight. Rad Academy are going to take control. Unreal.
Yeah, I mean, you say it didn't get much, but it got a lot of space, honestly, with that bounce. Completely turned that fight. I think the bounce was really just made it so that the Supernova couldn't really go aggressive because those DPS were antied. So Hutch ends up making it work, and now Nano's available for both of these sides. Cinnabar a little bit behind the 8 ball, though, in terms of that sound barrier. That could be a difference.
We are going to get the Nano and Astro sound barrier thrown on it as well. This is one powerful Winston, but are there any targets to hunt down? Hutch has got a self-nano. Ooh, but that nerf means it fades 2 seconds earlier, and Hutch is going to drop. Beautiful pursuit there from Renko. Pulse in the corner from Lich. Does at least exchange the Anas, so with that, Astro has to pop this Primal Rage to secure this fight and flip this point. Decent juggle will take care of Ivory. Jump down. And they are right back out. Good primal from Ash, at least decent enough. We are going to get a bit of a stall here from Fluttershy. It doesn't look like it's going to last long, though.
That is a lot of ult charge that they are giving away, and actually, Rad Academy wants to continue to fight for as much percentage as they can right here. They have to be careful, though. They don't want to give away too much, but actually, Astro ends up going down. Soundbarrier, oh, that was so close to an Ajax.
What? Whoa, Rad Academy are just living on the edge of the seat right now. They are playing with fire here with Supernova, and it's working out. They're turning out to be the fire tamers. They've quenched this flame.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Rad Academy with this composition, you just kind of want things to get ugly. Like, you want to just be in a complete mess of a team fight. You want things to not be as, like, crisp and clean with, like, a dive composition that we're seeing from Supernova. And it's working. I mean, the way that they're taking these fights and making things really chaotic is what you want from a Hammond composition like this. Even though I mean, you're playing on a knife's edge like we saw. Like, I think Cinnabar was, like, 35 to Ajax in that.
Yeah, I mean, at most. That was thrown in. Jutsu with an overclock as well. In fact, we got dueling overclocks on the point. Rad Academy at 93%. Supernova have to be aware of who's going to touch. You got Astro on the point. Gonna find Cinnabar out of the backline. Graves still with a sound barrier available over here. 99% on the board for Rad Acad. Bit of a battle on the outside. This is looking messy, but Supernova are keeping it under control. They don't let this one completely get away from them. They're able to contain the chaos, even though it does look a little brawly there in the middle.
Yeah, they are able to hold on to the sound barrier, which is really good patience from Grapes, because if they used that one, they would have had nothing to continue to try and take up this percentage. But you've got two very key ultimates coming in from Rad Academy, and a third one with Hutch on the way towards that Kitsune Rush. So a lot for Supernova to deal with. This sound barrier from Grapes has to be perfect.
Oh, that's a tough choice. Use it for mines. I guess you got to save it for the Kitsune. You might just leave Desitine open for a huge minefield there. Rad Acad still don't have control of the point, by the way. Kitsune Rush thrown on at the objective. Almost got it there. Sound barrier from Supernova trying to move back onto this point. Looked like Rad Acad are just able to kind of duck back and hide behind their mines out of Desitine. So the sound barrier fades, and here comes the counterpunch. Fluttershy with a beautiful pile drive in, combined with Lich. Able to find a couple of kills, including onto Grapes. 4v3. Lich is going to turn that into a 3v2. Couple of Tracers dueling on the outside, and once we've gotten messy, and I think Rad Academy have got this under control. Fluttershy's still here on the point. Astro has returned with a Primal Rage, but oh, that massive health bar has just been chonked away in a heartbeat. Fluttershy with a good pile drive for the finish.
Yeah, Renko 1% away from that Kitsune Rush. Not going to have it in time, but now throws it out. Let's see if they can win without their tank.
It feels like a desperate situation. Lich here trying to defend against it, and Desitine in the backline, keeping the supports busy. Jutsu is able to utilize the extra damage, take Fluttershy out of this fight, aka Desitine. So, Supernova keeping a foothold here, despite feeling down in the fight. Now, here comes the sound barrier out of Cinnabar. Just huddling up in the back, trying to stay in the bubble. Supernova's hiding, hoping that they can survive it. The sound barrier fades. Hutch is low. Giving it outside, Lich is trying to put some pressure in from the flank. Here comes Fluttershy to join, but Supernova is staying nicely bunched up and have not given over any casualties. We're now in a 99-99 fight with Desitine dropping mines in on top of the soldier in the hell and the supports. Graves and Renko both fall in that, and a boop on a Jutsu. Rad Acad will swing it here in the very end. Man, it was close.
Yeah, it was close, but it was chaotic, and that's exactly what you want from Rad Academy. Fluttershy piloting that Hammond super well. A lot of the minefield placements were really, really impactful. There was that one fight where it just completely split the team after the sound barrier from Grapes, and then Supernova wasn't able to take a fight like they wanted on their own terms, and I really, really liked what I saw with this Hammond. Now, as we go over to this map, Sanctum, it's unfortunately not going to work as well because of the fact that this is just not a map where Hammond gets a lot of viability just by the geometry of how the map is. So it's going to have to be going back over to the Diva, but we'll see if they can continue to make things a little bit more chaotic, because it feels like if they can get Supernova off of their game, Rad Academy's got a chance here.
I love how the mines are being almost used like a spike strip. You know, it's like, this street's inaccessible. You can't cross here. Sorry. Detour.
You don't want to fly down. Actually, Jutsu's going to be on the Ashe here, which I really love against the composition that we're seeing from Rad Acad. It's going to be really reliant on Fluttershy to try and negate some of the value that's going to be coming through with these dynamites, but actually it's just not going to be Jutsu playing those dynamites around the Diva at all, wanting to just throw it into the front of those DPS and see if you can find a pick after that.
I also love this positioning. So they've got Astro to hold the bridge. Instead of sending Jutsu bridge side like you often see with the hit scan, keep it to control this flank angle. Oh, but Lich is able to muscle past get some damage in. Fluttershy, they sneak past all the poke damage of Jutsu to find entrance back towards the Mega. It has forced a rotation, but so far no kills.
We'll see if Hutch on the flankers looking for something like an anti. Rad Academy's health bars are dwindling because the constant pressure of Jutsu, and Fluttershy does get demec. That's a big pick. That means that it's just going to be the Ana and also the damage coming in from the Ashe being able to pump down, and that's going to be Rad Academy eventually losing this one.
That felt like just like a slow chokehold, just very gradually the walls closing in on Rad Academy on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think they did the right thing where like trying to go aggressive on the Jutsu with the Genji, but they never found the pick, and because the peel was so good from Supernova, and then kind of once you've used all of your cooldowns like that, it's very hard to get back into a team fight now that it's Supernova who have control of every single one of these angles, and this is where Ashe is really going to thrive, just having control, especially without a D.Va on the other side now, and it's just a Ramatra. It's even going to be worse for them to deal with this Ashe.
Not to mention the anti-nades of Rinko, both of which can find max value now. We're already seeing Rad Academy super low health bars as they even approach. Nano Boost thrown on the Fluttershy. I think as much just for the healing as well as the sustain. Gets behind Astro and creates a nice little sandwich. Follow up on the Grapes is good. Okay. So Rad Academy finds some wonderful value on the back of that Nano Boost. Beautiful 3K there out of Desitine.
Yeah, not bad, but now it's going to be on the other foot where Renko's going to be having that Nano Boost available. They're probably going to save it for when Astro is going to have that Annihilation. Or, I mean, you could also just throw it onto Ryan, and Ryan can get a lot done in terms of just going into the backline with something like a Pulse Bomb. That is a possibility as well. But now it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the Ashe to get value. I think you can throw Bob in to create some space and then really make it difficult for Rad Academy to hold position.
Oh, what an antic. Lich is going to dash through, but that was really all Hutch. Now, I mean, it's a 2v3, it's a 2v2. Astro is able to immediately kill 3 in a 2v5 to even the odds here. Does have to back away, but impressive nevertheless.
Yeah, I mean, but Rad Academy don't have their healers here, so that means that it's going to be positioning that's going to be lost. Supernova's going to come back into this one. They still have a Bob to make this a 6v5 and the Nano Boost as well. Rad Academy don't have anything because Cinnabar is not at that sound barrier just yet.
The Bob is thrown onto the objective. Forces Destiny just to hold on there, not give over a free cap. A couple good shots. The third one lands. Cinnabar gets out with 1 health. That was amazing. Had to have the amp heal on that, otherwise there's no way you survive. Astro gets the Nano Boost. Rinko gets Fluttershy. Summer on the point, but the tank is already dead. It's not going to get any kind of value. The sleep for Lich into the hole. Rinko comes up with a pair. Wow, what a finish.
Yeah, and they swapped as well using that sound barrier. I think that's one that they're going to want to have back for Rad Academy. 70% and ticking upwards right now for Supernova. They don't have any ultimates to work with, which is the big thing for Rad Academy because they have their DPS ultimates. They also have a nano. You can nano blade this fight. You can nano overclock and pretty much just win it by fiat unless some miracle happens again, like with Renko nade. Like this, 2 health instantly blown up. Very well played.
It was both the nade and the dynamite that come in. You're talking about how they're going to find so much more value without the D.Va. That could just be map winning right there. Ivory desperately trying to swing this. Very little health to work with. You got a Nano Boosted Cinnabar on the point. I don't know if Valerie's gonna be able to get it done here. He's just forced out. I mean, trying to stay on this. Lich pulls out a blade in a 1v2. Okay, you're gonna be able to chop down Grapes, but there's just no other reinforcements here. One last purple for the road from Rinko, and Supernova are gonna take map 1.
I mean, it's close though between these two teams. The Supernova does take map 1, like you mentioned. But I think like the biggest thing for me was like there are just some mechanical plays that I see from Supernova where it's like you can't beat it. Like the Renko sleep is like the big one, right? Where it's like we saw in the first sub map where you sleep that Genji. You also take down an Annihilation. Like I mean, it's very difficult to deal with that in that regard. I think the other thing that I really liked from Rad Academy was that we saw them. That's such a disgusting thing. I really like that we saw. I really like that we saw the Hammond play, and I wonder if that's something that we're going to continue to say because we see Rad Academy has a lot that they can play in terms of their hero diversity and compositional diversity, and it's really going to be up to them to force Supernova off their comfort, which they did. They played that Hammond pretty much the best you can, making it super chaotic, making things really difficult for Rad Academy or Supernova to set up and play because that really feels like where Supernova gets a lot of their value is when they can start these team fights on their terms. When you don't let them do that, they kind of struggle.
And I think that the whole matter is, particularly the ball, is one of the hardest places to play the wrecking ball. I mean, you have a lot more options going forward to kind of bring that out if they do you want to continue throwing different looks at Supernova. And you can clearly found some success on trying with that pick. So you know, perhaps things could definitely get easier here. Definitely an opportunity for Rad Academy to swing this one back. God, that was what a nail. That was so good.
Yeah, I mean they do have map pick as well, which is going to be good for Rad Academy because they can, if they do want to play like the Hammond, they can bring that to they could also, you know, pick a Malga map if they want to do that and, like, you know, bring Santana in if they want to try to switch up kind of the archetypes of these compositions, because I don't think you can play Winston into Malga. It's just suffering. But there were some really good moments, I think, from both of these teams, and Supernova just had that, I think, little bit of mechanical advantage at the very end. Like those last two where we saw like Renko get that one nade and then Renko get that sleep, like those were really big difference makers between these two.
We're gonna get another Renko kill. Just getting the Ana diff on the Hutch here. Hey, I mean, it's got to be the star show. It's got to be a linchpin of the Supernova Cup, and really, I think part of the win condition for Rad Academy is controlling Renko, be it either just take away their value or get on top of Renko over and over again, similar to like what we see Dust Team do in this fight, where you corner the Ana and don't give him any room to escape. Rad Academy are going to have to keep that kind of pressure on. God, that was unbelievably close.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a couple of those almost Jaxes that we saw from both of these teams. Very, very close on a knife's edge between them, but it is going to be Supernova taking that win. And now, I mean, like, pick ban and map pick, I think, are pretty important here. Like, are we going to start taking away the Winston? Because Astro looks very good on it. Ana, I think, is like, at some point, I think we see an Ana ban for sure, like, from Rad Academy. I think I would be very surprised if they didn't end up doing that with how good Renko looks on it, and how good Renko has been, you know, in the past with a hero like that. I think Winston's also something you can take a look at as being potentially a target ban here from Rad Academy. But Rad Academy, I mean, they have all of it in their court right now because they do get to pick the map, they get to pick, you know, bans as well. So looks like it's gonna be Route 66, which is interesting to me because this is a very good Winston map. And now I'm like, it is also a very good ball map. So I'm like, okay, did they just want to play like Hammond, or what are they opting in for? Are they bringing in, I think you could also play Malga on this map. Malga seems like pretty viable on a lot of the picks that we see. Even after the nerfs, I think he's still pretty playable on a map like this. It wouldn't be my favorite though. I think it's playable.
No, I've seen him selectively since the nerfs, but obviously not nearly as much. It's pretty limited. Although if any team is going to pull it out, I mean, Rad Acad would certainly be the team. We are going to get that Winston ban. They waste no time getting rid of Astro's best hero. Now, the problem with Supernova in this tank ban is Astro's got a pretty wide, vast hero pool to choose from, and is good at all of them.
And I think that's going to be the interesting thing as well, because like if you're going to target ban Astro, I mean the Winston, especially on Route 66, you just can't play Winston, I feel like. Or I mean, you can't like let Winston go through if you were picking this map, if you were Rad Academy, because it's like we kind of just serve that one up to Supernova if we're letting them play Winston on a map like this. And it's going to be Brigitte that's taken off on the other end. So I think that this is just a really good ban from Rad Academy. It feels like Supernova, though, are totally fine with pinching the support pool, which kind of makes sense, especially when you have Renko and Grapes, who can play pretty much anything under the sun when it comes to the supports, and would probably feel very comfortable in that regard. So they're kind of trying to put the, you know, they're trying to kind of put the screws to the supports of Rad Academy by limiting in what they can play in terms of those heroes.
That's a smart choice. Can be, I think, a better way to control what your opponents want to do. You know, it might be more direct to ban out the tank, but you can have more influence, I think, with a support ban, just in how much it affects what's viable, not only for them, but for you as well. I mean, I think, you know, the Brig ban is a wonderful example, because it not only can you no longer protect your honor, provide kind of protection for any composition where you're wanting to just have a safe, stable backline, but you know, you no longer have that flank control either. You know, you're no longer able to send them in to try to help protect against, you know, the Tracer Genji's coming in. So, you know, it kind of has a multi-purpose use.
Yeah, and I think as well, kind of when we look at the tank matchup, I do wonder if like the Hammond is something that we're going to be seeing from Rad Academy. I think Diva is also something Fluttershy is very good at. So on a map like this where you do have that ability to play like high ground, and high ground control is very important, I think Diva does work very well. It's also going to work very well if Ana is going to be something that we see, specifically from how good Renko was playing it. You have that ability to eat sleeps, eat nades, makes it a little bit easier to pilot against an Ana matchup.
See, I don't expect Renko to stick with the Moira, but funny enough, we have actually seen Moira starting to come back in, but it's not in any way like it used to play. Yeah, no, it's like the Nolan Corona hyper aggressive backline Moira is kind of the thing.
Oh no.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
ain't so.
it's come back. Yeah, it's come back.
Attackers incoming.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible, especially if you're going to be like running like super aggressive, like you mentioned, like just diving onto the backline. But I think like with the Hazard in particular, you definitely want the Kiriko, and against the Nana or against the Ana, you definitely want the Kiriko to be able to cleanse any antis that are going to be happening. Because without a diva on the other side, there's going to be a lot of antis that most likely hit from Hutch here. So Renko has to be crisp and clean with these Kiriko Suzus.
No, the Moira pick was definitely a meme. It was not as big a meme as it once was, I guess. Oh, quick attack from Ryan. I mean, Cinnabar just gets caught up there. Was trying to help out the diva, but ends up far too forward. And not only does the Lucio go down, but Fluttershy is going to get demeched immediately. Big Earls falls, and it's a very swift attack here from Supernova. Still a chance for a recontest.
That was really good from Ryan. The Ryan, like, I think, basically one-clipped Cinnabar at the start of that fight, and without the Lucio, it's just going to completely fall apart. Rad should be able to get one last recontest with Fluttershy back here on that diva, but now the positioning is all in favor of Rad Academy.
Trying to take the high ground. Astro's just right in their face, keeping them contained, it feels like. Does let Fluttershy through, so able to move on to the cart, and Lich comes in from the opposite angle, down by the billboard to try to regroup, but Fluttershy gets demexed, and as Rinko throws in the damage, I believe Jutsu was pouring a lot of it in there as well. And now it's just die on cart from Radicat, and Supernova are going to pick this one up, added 2:30 to the clock.
But now you can see a little bit of, and Hutch is going to switch off the Ana, but you saw there exactly the problem with Ana in a scenario like this, where it's like if you just throw up the wall in front of an Ana, like they can't do anything, and they could, like Fluttershy couldn't get healed, Lucio's not going to be able to do it, so now you're going over to the Kiriko to make sure that if Fluttershy does get caught on the opposite side of a jagged wall, you have Swift Step, you have Suzu to get out and help, because Ana's just not going to be able to do that, especially on a part of this map where you really need to be able to maneuver quickly and crisply.
Astro holding up on that top walkway at the moment. Fluttershy dropping down under garage. Look like Super Shy is trying to take the top of this garage. Actually, an eat onto the jagged wall. Pretty important eat there from Fluttershy to allow him to get out. But you have given up some of that garage space, and Supernova are slowly tightening their grip around it. Now they've actually dropped in low. Fluttershy drops down inside the garage to help it. I think that was a bait. Fluttershy gets surrounded. Lucky to get out of that one in one piece. Kitsune Rush, I mean, we got all 5 check marks here for Supernova. This is about to get messy. Kitsune Rush is going to come out over the top of the garage, but Ivory finds the kill. Downpour from Astro. Now I don't know if they were caught in the downpour. It's just with the Kitsune Rush that is able to net those picks, and Supernova are able to hold on to their other 3 holds.
Yeah, it was basically just a free fight for, I mean, they basically walked all into that downpour, as now it's just Fluttershy staying here, trying to hold firm to be able to get back onto that cart and stall before they catch second. But look at the swarming that's happening right now from Supernova.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's not good.
The sound barrier obviously hopes to try to get a good fight here. You got to get the touch in before the cap, and that just doesn't happen. So it's a wasted sound barrier, and it's a wasted fight. I guess the only good news for Rad Academy fans is Will Grapes use theirs as well.
Yeah, that's really good news, because now at least Rad Academy you're going to have 2 options with their DPL ultimates to basically win this team fight. I mean, there's nothing to really deal with it on the other side, besides maybe like a Pulse Bomb, or if Jutsu goes first with their own overclock and is able to take out the fight before Rad Academy can get their DPS ultimates online.
After trying to open things up for Jutsu. Great little space for that overclock to 5 pager. Hutch wants to shut it down. Just goes right up main. She says, no. You can't give him that corner for free. And quick disengage here from Supernova.
Yeah, really good. I mean, this ultimate's going to get nothing. I mean, it's going to create space for the team, but like overall, no kills. And now it's just going to be Supernova running back onto this point. They do have, again, very key DPS ultimates in their back pocket, so do Rad Academy.
Ryan is trying to sneak in with a pulse bomb on the top. Lich with the blade, shut down, gets absolutely nothing. Barely even finished the voice line. Rad Academy trying to make things messy here, but Supernova kept him contained. Fluttershy drops, and Supernova are just sauntering forward. They've got the road trip music on. They're rolling 3 points in Colorado. Now looking to hold the door. Catch on to Ivory, staggers things out even worse.
I mean, again, it's Supernova who are going aggressive there. They use the overclock first. They also use the pulse bomb first, and there it felt like Rad Academy were just trying to buy back in with that Lich Dragon Blade, but gets hit by an overclock shot and then ends up getting no value. Now Supernova are going to hold this positioning until they get their sound barrier, but here comes an overclock from Ivory. Can it find some picks?
Ivory sitting on top of the truck. Yeah, there's nothing to be found. Supernova are just all high. They turtle up immediately, wait for it to fade, and now they're going to respond with Rinko's Kitsune Rush. Now, do you throw it over high ground, try to go take the back at Semi, or are you just going to throw it right up mainstream? Might depend on where this downport is. Okay, looks like they're going to go towards the Mega. There's the Kitsune Rush in, but he got stopped by a Fluttershy's wall. So, brilliant wall to neuter that Kitsune Rush. And still, Supernova doesn't look like they needed it. Actually, look at all the care. They used that tiny little rush as a sidewalk. And still all the assists there for Rinko in the feed.
Yeah, it doesn't go all the way through, but it gets just enough to get them through that team fight. And Astro had a great ultimate on top of that with the downpour. And again, the way the Supernova team is playing right now is just feels like it's so proactive, right? They're the ones who are setting the tempo every single time. It feels like Rad Academy, whenever they're pulling out ults, they're just always reactive. They're not kind of getting that tempo that they really would like to set up on these dives. And really, they're on the back foot the entire time. I think, like, I'm trying to think of like an ultimate that ended up working for them from Rad Academy. Like on third, we saw two ults. Like we saw the Kitsune Rush just get disengaged. We saw an overclock just get disengaged. Like the way that Supernova is playing around those ultimates is very effective, and they're totally fine with just being like, hey, you want to use this one ultimate? We'll just disengage. We know we have like a huge time bank, and then we'll re-engage with our own ultimate economy. The macro play is really good from Supernova here.
John, now that you mentioned, I don't know that we saw one successful ultimate. You got me thinking on that. Like, I'm starting to think that, like, I don't know that we actually saw one successful ultimate out of Radacat on that. Oof.
And it's just because they're playing, I mean, they're playing like reactive, right? And that's really not what you want to do in a composition like this, where it's like you want to be continuously proactive, right? When you're pulling Blade after overclock, you're kind of like coin flipping to be like, this is either going to hit pay dirt or I'm about to get railed by the Sojourn, and then I don't get to have fun. Like that's kind of how it feels like it's working a little bit right now between these two teams and how they're being proactive versus reactive. And it really is Supernova who always seem to be on the front foot, and we have to see from Rad Academy them try to make a little bit more happen and be a little bit more proactive.
Gotta fight their way. Gotta make things happen. Yeah, can't just wait for something to happen. Ooh, aggressive positioning on Astro. Sneakily hiding in the 45. Trying to ambush. Looks a little outmanned here, but Ryan's there to back up Astro and ends up getting out with one piece. Not actually a kill to boot, so there you go. I guess the close hold successful with Cinnabar going down.
That's working out pretty well. And I mean, this is what you got to do if you're a Supernova right here. You know you have such a huge time bank. Just make Rad Academy work for every single inch to get out of spawn right here. With how much poke there is going to be happening, that does mean Rad Academy should be able to get to this Nano relatively quickly, and Nano Diva or Nano Sojourn realistically could get a lot done, but it's going to take a little bit of time for them to break this defense unless they find a pick with something like an anti or a sleep.
Astro trying to use that lead to get out. Call for the disengage. Ooh, Destiny was hoping to push through that lower side and get stuck. Body blocked. The Diva's gone. Ryan and actually the rest of the team has. Yeah, they've just thwarted this. They're just not giving up anything.
Yeah, I remember someone telling me that whenever there's like a Sojourn and there's a Lucio on the inside, Lucio's job is just to eat rail shots, and that's unfortunately what's happening to Cinnabar a lot of the time. These rails are just continuously finding their head. Really well played from Jutsu on the other end, who is kind of living up to the expectation you set, where Jutsu is very, very gifted on this hit scan roll.
I mean, we're $130 in this attack, and Cinnabar is just now halfway towards that first sound barrier. Fight on the corner, as Supernova have at least given up the close hole. Nano Boost thrown on to Desitine, and he's back up to the top of Big Earls there for Supernova. Ooh, perhaps fighting a low Jutsu, but Fluttershy opts not to take that, giving an opportunity here for Supernova to strike back. They throw in a Kitsune Rush, but Rinko dies, making it happen. Astro turning into all directions, looking for a target to jump on. Sees Lich emerge from the tunnel, but a great anti-nade lands, and Astro's going to go down, but Jutsu and Riot are still on the case. The D-Mech on to Fluttershy, even the self-destruct. Then we'll get back in Meg. Jutsu, oh, with the firing squad. That was dirty.
Jutsu completely turns that fight around. It looked like the ante was enough for Rad Academy to be able to push their way to a team fight win, but just only the Kitsune Rush used for Supernova, and Rad Academy back to the drawing board for them. A minute and a half left in their time bank, and they look like they are in a dire strait right here, potentially about to get full health, especially with Supernova's ult economy that they have coming forward.
Yeah, the discipline to only throw the one ult in on that from Supernova is insane. What a read. Ivory's overclock needs to be enormous. And you're going up against Jutsu on the other side. Jutsu's going to pull the trigger first. Ivory doesn't even get a chance to hit Q. Supernova once again are continuing to set the pace here on map 2.
Set the pace, set the tone, and now it's only 55 seconds left. This Div is also about to get staggered so nasty right now. This is going to be brutal. That means that by the time... Yeah, by the time we get to this next fight, it's going to... And actually, they're going to be aggressive right here. Supernova want to try and get as many picks as they can before Rad Academy retreat back into spawn. Don't manage to find any just yet. And now, with 36 seconds, this is last chance saloon for Rad Academy. 2 DPS ults with sound barrier available as well. Is that going to be enough to break the defense of Supernova?
I've already taken damage after hitting the OC. Leaping up, it's wasting a lot of time just to get in a position, but making good on it. What a pick to take Graves down. Destinine is up on the high ground and try to pursue onto Astro, and now Cinnabar has a huge sound barrier advantage, but still a long way to go. They don't want to use it just yet.
Oh, big stick though. Oh, it's two. Oh, no.
That might just be the map. Ryan just delivered 2 supports and 1 press of the Q.
Oh, Ryan's gonna end up going down.
Yeah, we got a downpour onto Destinine though, and I think Supernova have, with great sound barrier in, it's just overwhelming odd. Lich is gonna pull out a blade, will not get anything, doesn't even get it out of the sheath. The sound barrier late and dulled here from Rad Academy. Of course, they're gonna fight till the bitter end, but it's overwhelming odds. Supernova will move up to match point.
I mean, Volskog, that was probably the worst thing that could happen at the end of that team fight. I was like, okay, you know, maybe you lose the Ana, that's fine. You lose the Ana to a Pulse, it's like, it's whatever. You lose Nano, it's whatever. The fact that also they lost Cinnabar with that sound barrier made that fight unwinnable. Like, really, really good play from Ryan. Unfortunate that the support just ended up going down like that as a duo with both 2 very key support ultimates in their back pocket. And Supernova looks like they want to get to that grand final as quickly as possible.
Coming back with a bit of a chip on their shoulder from Rad Academy, sending them into the lower bracket. My goodness.
They're playing angry. It feels like they don't want they want to just go as quickly as possible towards that grand final, and they're playing like it. I mean, the tempo they're setting is just so incredibly quick. They have the pace all the time. Like, even there's moments where like we see like there's an advantage for Rad Academy. They're throwing out ultimates and they're just not finding pay dirt.
Supernova seem to know what Rad Academy want to do before they do. Where they're already prepared for the disengage, as the ultimates coming in. They're already starting to move away. Even with a Kitsune Rush, Rad Academy can't catch up, can't find value on it. And then, I mean, just a couple of unfortunate events. This was one of them. That team fight was one of them.
Yeah, and I mean, this was the little sidewalk Kitsune Rush. They still managed to get some things done, but again, you see that downpour, I mean, that was in the back line, that Astro God just completely turned the team fight around, and I'm loving the idea that we're seeing some combinations from Supernova with their ultimate usage here, but the space that's being created from Astro is just letting Jutsu, letting Ryan get all of this space to work with and making it hard for Rad Academy, who have, like, pretty good DPS players. They're just not able to find a foothold the same way that Supernova's DPS are.
And Jutsu and Ryan inheriting the starting spots from, I mean, Overwatch veterans and legends of Chime and Haven. And it looks like they got the baton with their blessings. They have certainly, are filling out those giant shoes, coming up with huge plays in both rights. Oh yeah, give me the stick. Give me the stick, you!
I was like watching, I was, okay, thank you, Prod. Prod's the go for some of this. Oh, that's just so unlucky. Hutch just, unfortunate delivery service there from Hutch. I don't think that's a package you want to see.
Oh no.
That's not one I'm opening in my mailbox, I tell you that right now. That is just an unfortunate, unlucky situation that we saw there.
Oh, why jump onto the point? Why jump onto the point?
That's tough. I think there...
Was it a boost?
I don't know. Well, Was there actually someone? I wonder if we didn't see like overhead there was someone
In the-
that just
or
like
in the
threw him
cave.
down. Yeah, that potentially that's what could have happened. We'll have
Because
to
that
ask.
auto went flying off that high ground
Yeah,
onto the
that auto
objective.
did go
And there's no way
auto
Hutch is
did
like,
go
I got
quick,
pulsed.
yeah.
Let's go jump onto the objective with my 3 friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That
I don't
doesn't
think. Yeah.
That had to be
I
a
think-
boop.
Hutch was like, I'm gonna give all of you a hug. We're going down together. I think it wasn't a boop, so it was just a jump. They just
It was
jumped
just
onto
a
the
jump?
cart.
Okay.
So, you know,
Just-
unfortunate. I think it just unfortunate trying to get to the cart and just die on cart, I guess, in that scenario.
I
But
suppose. Oh,
Delivered
I was trying to
a
give
pulse
Hutch the
bomb.
benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
there.
Mistakes happen.
Of course.
We're gonna see Supernova benefit off that mistake with the 2-0, and Numbani is gonna be our next map here. So another very good Winston map, interestingly enough, which I'm curious about because Astro is very good at Winston, and you can't ban it again because you played it on Route 66, or you banned it on Route 66 rather. That's what I mean.
I knew what you meant. We knew what you meant.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scratching my head a little bit here. So, I mean, do we see Santana come in? Are we going to see the Wrecking Ball here? We do get Rad Academy now banning out the Yana. So, and this was a little bit of what I was referring to earlier of trying to control the composition that Supernova can play by attacking their back line as opposed to attacking the tank directly. So, I'm guessing Rad Academy are hoping that Supernova won't play the Winston without the Yana, I guess.
I mean, I would also be that, but also I'm like thinking it's like, okay, you just played Lucio Kiri here, and then you're just like,
Right.
I think they could still probably pilot it pretty effectively if they wanted to play that. I think getting rid of to be fair, I was talking about it earlier where it's like with how good Renko has been playing Ana, it's probably just worth it to at some point get rid of it off the table completely. And this is a great map for Ana, Numbani in particular. And if there is going to be Winston play, getting rid of it also very good. But I think like if you're Supernova, you're probably saying like, okay, we'll just play Kiriko if we need to. We know that we have a really good Winston player in Astro. We know our support line is incredibly adept at playing pretty much anything, and I wonder if we see what Supernova is going to do, because they've been the one banning out the supports for the most part. Now they have to ban something else. Do they take away the Diva? Do they take away, one of the DPS that we've been seeing as well? Maybe like a Tracer ban or something like that. I wonder where exactly their head's at in terms of what to ban, because they're in such a lead where it's like, do we really need to ban like that much more? Like, it seems like we can ban Lifeweaver here and we'd be totally fine.
You also don't want to get, too much hubris on it. But it does, you probably want to say something in your back pocket. Just in case Rad Academy try to turn this around.
We did see a Lifeweaver ban, though. We did see a throwaway Lifeweaver ban. We did see that.
And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me to see Supernova just going for the jugular here and trying to come out with the most effective ban they can. Maybe I don't even know.
The thing is I can't think of like. I think you could attack the Genji, but like also I'm like thinking of it's like, okay, you could ban Sojourn, but also Juice is playing really well on it.
Yeah,
like,
you hurt
okay,
yourself
it's gonna
on
be
that
the
one.
Hammond.
Okay.
Okay, so like this is a good ban, because I think that this was the one thing that when we saw Supernova lose, it was because of the chaos created by this Hammond, just taking it off the table completely. I think this is a pretty decent map for Hammond as well, so it's gonna pretty much negate that ability to really get this fight a little bit more muddied, which doesn't seem to be where Supernova wants to be. Supernova wants to be the one setting the tempo, and if it's against Hammond, it's a lot harder to do that and kind of play with your flowchart.
Man, I was thinking this does eliminate the one dive tank that Desatine can play going into a very high ground oriented map. So would not surprise me to see changes. I'm curious to see how Rad Academy respond. Of course, the bans do come through first. So Rad Academy knows what heroes are banned out before they decide which lineup to use. So we had talked about at the top of the series, they do run 2 tanks here, and Santana, who we haven't seen yet on the battlefield today, tends to run more of the Winston Diva style tanks.
Yeah, and I think it looks like we are going to be seeing Santana come in, so that does make sense, that especially with what we're seeing without the Hammond being there, because I think that we did see Fluttershy pilot the Diva a little bit, but I think that if they want to like maybe play Mauga at any point, I think that that's something that we kind of have to look out for, especially with how good Santana is at Mauga. But also the Winston, I think if they want to try just a full Winston matchup, it's not something we've seen too much of yet. So I think matching Astro, who, I mean, to be fair, is a very formidable Winston player overall, I think that this is definitely something that they're trying to think about in terms of like hero pool usage, because I think D.Va does work on a map like this. It's just going to be better if you have like a Winston player to make it really, really important to play Nimbani.
It's a bold choice. I mean, you're trying to match Astro in the Winton. That's what this is looking like. Also,
it's hard.
That's hard.
It's a lot to ask for this team. I mean, you're playing up against like 5 of probably the best players that are in FACEIT League, right? Like just overall, like in anywhere.
Period.
So I mean, it's definitely. But if you, I mean, think about it though. If you win on a map like this and you win in like a Winston mirror, it's like the momentum you can get very, very strong for this Rad Academy team. But it looks like Supernova is still very much in the lead when it comes to this matchup and the pace that they've been able to set. And I would expect not a lot to change if it is going to be a Winston mirror, because that you're playing right into what Supernova wants to play.
Yo, I've been playing this game for 8 years.
You didn't know about the bugs?
No, not the bugs. The Mega is 3 minis.
Wait, there's no way you didn't know that, really?
I didn't know that. It's 3 minis piled into a cube.
You've been casting this game way too much to have not known.
I'm sorry, I never sat and stared at the Mega before, all right? The camera zoomed in. It was just like staring at the Mega. I'm like, wait a minute. There's 3 little mini canisters in there. Yeah, look at that.
Because it's 150 health. Each one's like a 50 health, so then there's like a 3. It's cute.
That's clever.
Really
I've never noticed that. Thank you, Prime.
The more you know.
The more you know. Hey, let me enjoy my little things, okay? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You know what? You know what? That's my bad. That's my bad. I'll let you enjoy the little things in life. We definitely need a lot more of that in the big 2025. I'm down to be amazed by 3 health packs and a mega health pack. I'm totally down.
That's amazing. That is amazing. All right, Rad Academy starting off. They have chosen to go on the attack here. So we'll see. We'll see what works out. Santana does come in, picking up the hazard.
Yeah, it's going to be the hazard, which I think kind of makes sense in terms of what we're seeing for hero pools. And it looks like actually Rad Academy's going to try and set the tempo a little bit with a dive. Speed ring was already used, so that's a cooldown that they're not going to have along with that lead.
Definitely makes sense over trying to go into the Winston match. Oh, what a wall out of Astro. That just sealed Santana's fate. No escape. Santana goes face first into a jagged wall. The rest of the team trying to get out. Cinnabar's low. Good heals, and Rad Academy get out okay with only the 1 loss.
Yeah, good wall. I mean, that's one of the things that you're going to have to be looking out for with this matchup between both these hazards, is that wall being able to section off members away from that healing, because they're, I mean, it's going to be a little bit easier for Supernova to maneuver around because you have the Kiriko that has that ability to swift step and use that Suzu, but for Rad Academy, you don't really have that. You have just a Brigitte and a Juno, so reliant on being able to see the tank to be able to heal them.
Rank to the back line under guard. Astro holding down the high ground. Ooh, Astro now finds themselves in a 1v3 with a great wall. This one from Santana, creating a mismatch in the middle of this 5v5 team fight. That's going to start the dominoes of falling. Okay, let's go Rad Academy.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Like, in the tempo right there, it was 2 really good engages from Santana, getting into the, forcing cooldowns, forcing out Suzu, forcing out the teleport just into that tiny area where the Brigitte was waiting patiently with Cinnabar. So really good heads-up play starting out from Rad Academy, who look like a much more well-oiled machine already on this hazard composition than they did previously.
With plenty of time to work with, coming up on a couple ultimates as well. Gotta keep an eye on the flank. You can see there's a little outline of Ivory with her gun pointed off in the right side direction. That's because Riot is trying to threaten in all the way from the backside. Could leave a mismatch for Rad Academy to take advantage of around this front corner. We're waiting to get this Juno ultimate online. And imagine we're going to see this orbital just throw down. Ooh! A big pressing from Astro actually gave them the opening they needed. Never mind the ultimate. Astro puts themselves out of position. Rad Academy capitalized.
Yeah, and this is the kind of the weakest I think we've seen Astro look. Well, I mean, farming up towards this downpour relatively quickly, but just not being punished really effectively by Rad Academy. The target selection's been great, and Santana with the walls as well, just sectioning members off, not letting Astro. I mean, Astro, if they're sectioned off, you have to force the Renko to go in with Swift Step and with Suzu, and then you're just caught.
Gonna continue rush going up from the defense, but Lich has the blade. Bringing it back as Rad Academy down 3v4. Santana equalizes, jumps directly in, and oh, Ivory gets pounced on. Supernova able to win out. What was a close fight. Supernova make a stop for the first time.
Yeah, and that was one fight, though, where Supernova finally did get their tempo back in. They used their ultimates aggressively, and Rad Academy has to play a little bit more reactively. They're actually going to switch over, or actually, it's going to be Renko switching over to the Juno just to offer a little bit more of that speed and healing to the rest of the team, instead of something like a Kiriko where they was relying super heavily on just the Suzu and the Swift Step, but now Ivory gets taken out already. That means there's just more positioning for Rad Academy, or for Supernova, and Rad Academy has to retreat a little bit more.
Academy will come back with an overclock of their own right. That was a straight rail shot on that one, but still, Ivory might be able to open up, see if they can find some revenge on Jutsu. You see Santana jumping all the way across, pushing up the single wall, just to move on to the This is going to open things up, and you find Jutsu with a wall. Oh, how does that happen? What an ingress there from Santana. Downpour comes in, is going to catch two in the back. Oh, Legend. Everybody caught it out with Sound Barrier, Downpour, both thrown in and working out beautifully there from Supernova.
That was so filthy from Astro. Astro hits like a 4-man.
Yeah, that was enormous.
A 4-man downpour and just completely annihilates what Ivory was trying to do with that overclock, because you're just standing there still. You don't have a defensive ultimate to deal with, and Graves just walks up and says, thank you very much, take you out in the head, and that's going to be Supernova still holding their ground effectively right here. They also have a Dragon Blade to work with and no support ultimates for Rad Academy, and that really good time bank that they had to start things off has dwindled away significantly. Only a minute and 50 seconds left here, Jeff.
What is notoriously pretty attacker favorite point. There's one point in our life cycle where body second just didn't exist. Rad Academy, no ult here. Watch out for the Rhino Blade. Playing through inside of Axiom at the moment. Could push out towards Rhino and have free access onto that backline. Our Hazard's just going toe-to-toe right now. Astro's able to dance around the jagged wall. Santana's trying to take some more space around the Jeep. Got to be careful not to get surrounded, though. Gets booped out from the cover and has to use the Violent Leap just to get away. He's opening things up for Ryan to move in. Goes onto those squishies. Finds two with the blade. Both supports are gone. Santana one, no chance. There's the finish. A flawless hold. Nice three-piece from Ryan.
Love that positioning. A pincer maneuver from Ryan going in towards the back line, just taking down Hutch early. 98% towards that orbital that orbital ray could have made a difference there, but now it's going to be matching orbital rays for both of these teams. Dragon Blade is going to be available for Lich, so it is going to be probably something that you're going to try to force out early with the Dragon Blade. See if you can get an orbital ray, then use yours secondarily to make sure that you can have that ability to push through.
I like the idea of Rad Academy giving them a different look, but man, Supernova just clogged this choke. 5 guns pointing down that hallway. No good for Rad Academy. Yeah. That wasn't even a fight.
Yeah, that was, and then now that makes this last fight for sure. Luckily for Rad Academy, they are coming up on some very key ultimates to match the ultimate treasure trove that we're seeing from Supernova. Both support ultimates online. It's really going to have to be Santana finding a way to get this downpour in time, because Astro's going to make this fight very difficult to maneuver with downpour.
Let's go ahead and over the top. Santana down low. The blade pulled out, and Graves is already dead. 96% to beat. It's a good start for Rad Academy. Here comes that downpour, and it's enormous once again. Gets to the bars. Rally, keep him alive. Looks like they can. Lich is able to counterpunch and take Astro out of the fight. And the rally hangs on here. It costs Rad Academy everything, but they get it done.
And that was all. I mean, that was all Santana. If Santana doesn't find that pick on the Grapes, that fight looks completely different with the sound barrier. That was really, really well played. And there have been a couple of times where Santana has just at the start of fights been able to find someone with a jagged wall, take down a very key member, and that's going to give an extra life to Rad Academy to start moving through second here. They also have an overclock to work with, which is fantastic for them. Maybe force out that sound barrier and force out an overclock and then come back in.
I mean, the overclock used first. Rad Academy doesn't have to force anything. Oh, but Santana gets caught. Looked like they were trying to dance around as the Lego bricks got built, but Astro was better at playing that game.
I mean,
play more builder games, apparently.
Yeah, play more Minecraft. It feels like always, though, that we're seeing, again, these ultimates from Supernova are just always the ones that are being used first. Taking down very low. Ryan goes down. Great pick to start things off for Rad Academy. This might be a chance for them.
Look, the overclock from Ivory to find Wrinkle as well. This is a great chance. And the pursuit. Now it's just Supernova just yeeting in Dion Cart. What a wonderful opening pick. This is going to turn the final corner here for Rad Academy with 30 to go.
And Graves still hasn't used this sound barrier. Like, Graves has been holding on to the sound barrier for a very long time, just not having a good moment to do so. This should be enough to make sure that Rad Academy don't cap, but Graves needs to be careful and make sure the sound barrier does not get Ajax.
this point, yeah, just gonna run a beat blade attack. Exactly what they're gonna do. Bolstering the katana right, easily cuts through Cinnabar like a knife through butter. 3 slashes onto Ivory. Will end this map. No chance for Rad Academy to get back. You got one person waiting for the stall, which actually will initiate the yellow bar, but no one else is even close.
And I mean, if you're Rad Academy though, you got a lot of extra credit, I feel like, in a couple of those fights. Like, it was very easily, like, holdable halfway through first, but getting second, getting all the way almost to third, like, that's pretty good, considering how dire it looked a couple of times during some of those team fights and some of those engagements for Rad Academy. Getting that far is definitely good, setting a win condition for them.
I also, like, think, I mean, Santana did a wonderful job of kind of going toe-to-toe with Astro on that. Astro had some better ultimates and, you know, probably... You know, may have gotten the better end of the tray, but Santana was in there neck and neck. I mean, that pick onto Grapes to solidify that point B cap, huge, absolutely enormous, great read. And Santana, this looks a heck of a lot better than trying to match Astro in the Winston, at the very least.
No, 100%. I think Santana has been like the shining star for a lot of what Rad Academy has been trying to do with these engagements. Like we saw that pick on the Lucio, like you mentioned. There was another one I think where they had at the very like start of the map. They like Santana got a pick very early and was able. They just weren't able to convert on that. So if they can continue to convert on these first picks that Santana is giving them, that might be an option and a way back for Rad Academy to hold this defense.
Santana it's awesome to see Santana playing here in FACEIT League. I remember seeing a post from them at the end of last year just talking about how badly they wanted to play in FACEIT League and get into the open circuit. Loved calling out heroes and how they were able to grow in that tournament, but to get the chance to play here, this is really something special to see. And get to see Santana kind of fulfilling that dream. Now looking to see if they can hold here and take a map off of Supernova, keep this series alive for Rad Academy.
We're going to be seeing how these two teams are going to operate. It looks like they're going to try and rotate through that coast side to get a little bit of sight lines, but it actually looks like it's a pincer maneuver because the Brigitte and the Sojourn are sneaking around the backside, but they've actually been found out.
Oh, yep, nope, never mind. You just left your supports alone. Rad Academy recognize it. What a raid. That's an easy pick.
Yeah, fantastic read from them, and they're able to take down two very key members, and that's just going to be more time taken off the clock, and that's what Rad Academy are going to have to continue to do on this defensive end, just find picks in that way, in the neutral. Actually, Grapes is going to be going over to the Lucio again, just to offer a little bit more of that speed potential to make these engagements faster.
Ooh, double speed available here from Supernova. Cinnabar almost got an environmental. Astro holding stubbornly on the corner while those two supports try to push into the high ground. That same play we saw before, but Astro's able to regroup with them this time. Rad Academy don't get the easy 3 picks onto the back line. Lich goes down, overwhelmed by an appeal, and Astro now free to hunt down the Rad Academy supports.
Yeah, and I mean, now you can see just kind of how much better it is with the Lucio, with the tempo that you can set for Supernova, bring Grapes onto that pick. It really just completely overwhelmed Rad Academy because you saw, I mean, Cinnabar's POV. Cinnabar's just getting dove on by a lot of members, and if you don't have that whip shot and you don't hit Pater with it, it's a completely gone thing for you. So Supernova gonna have to move forward, or gonna get to move forward here 5 minutes in their time bank.
Look at all the space they're picking up. Just a little bit of poke. We're going to go ahead and draw back. I think they were hoping to find somebody out of position, to catch somebody sleeping. Rad Academy only 3 strong. They don't have any ultimates left to stop this with. This could be very difficult for them to make work.
Yeah, Renko is super ahead of Hutch right now. It's about 20% difference, and that orbital rate could be a difference maker.
Which goes down immediately right out of the gate. Yep. Ryan's gonna hunt down Cinnabar. They don't even need the ultimates. They don't even have to wait around for, you know, to build up an ult to get back in the fight. They just send Ryan and Jutsu in, claim some skulls, that's it.
And that's like the worst thing that could happen now, because look at all the ultimates that Supernova are gonna get towards. Is there even gonna be a chance for Rad Academy to get back onto this point? I think actually it'd be better if they just let it go, because I think if you try and get back onto this point and you lose the fight and commit ultimates, the round's over. Like, it'd be very good. They're gonna try though.
They're going for it. I mean, you know what? You get the orbital out from Renko. That's 1 of 4 currently sitting in Supernova's pocket. Down 4 from Santana did land, and Ivory's able to leverage that into a pick. Sound barrier comes in from Grapes. Ryan trying to get a couple with the blade, but the rally from Cinnabar. No, it's not going to be enough to fend it off. Ryan cuts through your rally and your Brig, not to mention your Genji.
I mean, you do get 4 ultimates out of Supernova, but it's still a 5-minute time bank for them, and they don't even have to get it. They basically just have to get it to the end, and they're going to end up winning. Luckily, though, they have the Orbital Ray comboed along with the Dragon Blade. That should be enough to stall, but with Jutsu having this overclock, there's not enough long-range damage on Rad Academy to deal with it. They have to play very carefully around the space that's going to be created.
Rad Academy are trying to just convert from multiple sides on the back of Lich's Katana. The Dragon Blade up to the high ground, and quick disengage from Supernova.
Really, really good disengage. I mean, the speed ring and also the speed from the Lucio just completely negating whatever that blade wanted to do.
Yeah, there's the F1 racing we're seeing on Supernova right now. And just as quickly, they're right back on the attack. But Ringo gets isolated by a good wall there from Santana. And Lich is just going to dash through, continue getting reset after reset. Lich will get 4.
And that's one, but if you're Supernova, that's one you're totally fine with taking. You get out the Orbital Ray. Now this is really where the Orbital, the Overclock is going to get a lot of value because you have to disengage from this. You can't stay in front of Jutsu because you know you have to respect that incoming damage. So this Overclock, if it doesn't find any picks, it will definitely secure space for the rest of the team of Supernova.
Seems like Rad Academy are anticipating it. Everybody already back up to the second corner as Supernova makes the approach. There's the speed ring and wall. Ooh, the overclock. Everybody goes to the left side. It was a bait from Astro while the entire team goes to coast. Ryan finds Cinnabar. The overclock is popped. Couple shots in the Ivory. There's the third one for the finish. Supernova claim 2. Full strong. Not only do they create space, they get kills on the back of that OC. And are looking to move all the way into the grand finals and the OWCS promotion relegation matches. Is there time for a touch?
I mean, there's potentially one. Ivory's going to be coming back with the Molten Core as well, so it could make this fight a little bit risky.
Core onto the point, and Lich is able to stall, but only momentarily. A good shot, a good deflect will be the end of the flex DPS and the end of the road here for Rad Academy. Supernova take the 3-0. We'll see you in the grand finals.
Rad Academy unfortunately bow out, but a very convincing win for Supernova. They look angry here, Volskunk. They want to get back into OWCS where they feel like they belong. They get into that relegation tournament. Now they want to be able to cap it off with a win in that grand finals. Well played to Supernova. I feel like they had the tempo throughout pretty much the entirety of the series and well deserving of a victory. And they're going to be going into that promotion relegation tournament.
Spectacular performance, and you can see why we were calling them, you know, the best in each role. I mean, every single player from that Supernova squad stepped up at some point in that series, provide big moments. And, of course, that does not exclude Astro here. Most importantly, Astro here at the front line. Whatever tank they were picking up here today, be it Turbot, be it the Hazard, be it the Winston, Astro was always a force to be reckoned with here.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about how Rad Academy was very, like, versatile in their compositions and, like, what they can play, but it feels like, I mean, it's kind of similar for Supernova, where it's like, where do you ban out this team in terms of, like, you know, it feels like the DPS can play whatever, Astro can play whatever, Grapes and Renko, I mean, we're banning themselves pretty much the entirety of the time. Like, we saw, I think, 2 support bans from Supernova in those first 2 maps. They don't mind playing anything, so I'm really interested to see how they're going to be going up and matching against Dildux in that final.
Well, first step down. Supernova have bought themselves a trip to those OWCS promotion relegation matches. And we'll see them alongside Dildux as they take on Shikigami and Amplify to determine which 2 will end up in stage 2 of OWCS. Those matches will be happening next week. That's on April 13th. But also, we've got a grand finals ahead of us. We still have a champion to crown, and I guarantee you it's important to both of these squads. Hey, you got prize money, you got bragging rights, all on the line, all just ahead of us, all coming up right after this break.